Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs and voices never shared, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign flashed out its warning, and the words that it was forming, and the sign said the words on the prophets are written on the subway walls, in tenement halls, and whispered in the sound of silence.
Well, give the Lord a praise. Come on, that's why we're here. Give God a praise. Welcome. It's nice to see you guys. Somebody told me that I was here at this church many, many years ago. I have been coming to Singapore for about 25 years, and it's just nice to be back today. So thank you for letting me have the opportunity to be with you guys. Thank you. I appreciate Pastor Sam saying the intro. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you. After you've been in the ministry for 50 years and you've been around enough people to see, when you walk into a church, you get a sense of folks, of who they are, how you worship, and being in here today, working with the staff, it's nice to be around nice people. Some were wondering why that I'm wearing this. You don't know me. It was 2 weeks ago, I was on the front line in Ukraine. And we're in the process now. As we're speaking here, we are taking kids that have been stolen, literally, from Ukraine by the Russian army, have taken them into Russia. I was there, And I was asked by 2 separate governments to go back and gather information, and that is what I did. I was specifically asked to do a job. I did it, but as I was there, I saw some of these kids that have been taken away from their homes, put in some pretty tough situations. So after I did what I was asked to do by the other governments, I decided that I'm not leaving here until we're going to start getting some of those kids back and taking them back home where they need to be. So the second truckload is now dropping them off. And I made up my mind because there was 480 kids. There was over 20,000 kids that the governments know of these children that have been taken out from their homes. And there was 480 that I was around the couple of days when I was there to do medical work. But I thought, I'm just going to wear this until we get those 480 kids back home with their parents. And so when you see me with this on today, this was the jacket that I wore. I got blown up by a drone explosion when I was leaving there, trying to get back to the border. So if I'm moving a little bit slow and you wonder why you should have seen me before the bandages. But when all of this happened, I said, I'm going to stay with this jacket until we get those 480 children done, get them home where they need to be. And so I just want you guys to know, usually I try to wear a nice suit, because when you're older, especially when you come to Singapore, I try to impress you folks. It's not that I really care, but I kind of got this going today. But I just wanted you to understand where I've been. I got home 2 days ago before coming back here. I was in New York for 2 days, jumped on the plane and came here. I'll be in Singapore for the next couple of weeks, then going to Malaysia, speaking at some of the churches there. And I'll be doing 2 different messages today, totally different message in the second service. And those of you that are watching at Woodlands, I wish I was there with you guys. Next time, I'll come and spend some time with you guys. But for all of you that are watching today, my prayer for this first service particularly was simple. Is it something that is seen, something that's said? It's not unusual for me to bring things, to show things that are disturbing. And I don't say that to try to disturb anybody. I just live different. And for those of you guys that know me, I've been shot twice, been thrown off of a building, walked away from 3 plane crashes. In this last drone explosion coming out of Ukraine, or coming out of Russia, trying to get back to the border. It's just a different kind of life. The Lord has opened doors for me after being in ministry for 50 years, and now, because somebody, and you guys would have laughed about this, because after I came out of this last run from Ukraine, this is my 4th tour that I've done over the last year from Ukraine. And somebody said, Pastor Bill, you're going to be 75 years old in just a couple of months. When are you going to retire? And some of you older folks, shame on you. Retirement should not be in your vocabulary. Come on, guys. Come on. We need you. We need the wisdom of older folks. I love to be around the young people. Sometimes you just want to slap them in the head in Jesus' name. But I enjoy being around the folks that are my age, because you come to this point when you've been around a while, and the Lord gives you wisdom, gives you opportunity. And so that's why I enjoy being around. I'm sorry, Pastor Bill, where are you going to go when you retire? Well, number one, I'm not ever going to retire. And that's just so we all know. So look at the person next to you and just say, don't retire. Just look at somebody, just smack them in the arm and say, there's no room for retirement The call of God is without repentance. You know it, I know it, so let's not kid ourselves. There's so much wisdom in this room right now. I wish I could just grab some of you and just take you back to New York and work with me. Help me drive the bus. Help me do the things that we do in the Philippines. Help me do Sunday school all over the world. But see, for me, and this sounds a little dramatic, but I will die doing this. It's just that simple. Because there will not be. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. You understand. So today, when I talk to you guys, just understand this is a little bit different. This will be a different Sunday. If you're a guest here, a first-time guest, please come back next week. This is not normal. I'm not normal. And I get that. You kind of get that. But this is a great church, great people. Okay? And yeah, you guys are great. Great. So please come back. Don't judge this church by me, because I'm not the normal thing here on Sunday. So next week, you'll all be back to normal, and praise the Lord. It'll be great. But when I got to the border over there to find out where some of these kids were staying, they're what they call filtration camps, where they've been taken away from their families and turned into citizens of other countries. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that today. If some of you are interested more about that, I'll be in the chapel. Is that right, Jim? Be at the chapel. I'll be signing books and taking pictures, and I just like to meet people. I haven't been here. I can't even remember the last time that I was here, so it'll be nice to get to meet you and shake your hand and hug your neck and slap you around a little bit if you need that. But it's just nice to, again, be around folks. And when I got there to try to figure out how we're going to get those kids out of there and get them back home. And I'll tell you this because I need you to pray. And I'm not just saying that just because it's the expected thing to do. But when we're running these trucks, picking these kids up from these filtration camps and then get them back home, when I ask you to pray, I'm not just saying that because it's a nice little churchy thing to say. This is a life and death stuff, guys. And we're going to have to make a lot of runs. We've got a small truck that we're trying to bring them back across the border. I can pick maybe 30, 35 kids in that truck and get them back so you understand what we're trying to do. But when I saw that one little boy, and there was a soldier that took a pair of scissors and cut the boy's tongue out. And I saw him, and he was trying to talk to me, and I couldn't understand him. And I made up my mind that we were going to get him home. And I tell you this because it's been burning in my bones. We put him on the first truck run to get him home, and I just wanted you to know that he was one of the first ones that we got on the truck, and we got him home 2 days ago. In Jesus' name, got him back to his mom so she could take care of him. So I want you to understand, today is a mission Sunday. It's not just a Sunday service, this is Mission Sunday. This is ordinary people that choose to do extraordinary things. And thank you for allowing me just to spend time with you guys. I appreciate it more than you know. Thank you. Thank you. I've got, as I said, be down at the chapel. There'll be some things down there maybe some of you want to take a look at. Usually when you're a guest speaker, they always sell something. That's the beauty of being a guest speaker, all right? But Sam already talked to you about the book, Whose Child Is This? It's in 32 different languages, one of the best-selling Christian books around the world. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, but more than that, it'll force you to look at yourself differently. That was the I don't even know how many books I've written. I've got working on 3 more right now. But if you have never read this book, wondering how a little kid like me, my mother left me on a street corner when I was 12 years old. She walked away. She was alcoholic. And she never came back. And I sat on that corner for 3 days without food and water until one person stopped. He was an ordinary Christian. Operative word, ordinary Christian. He was actually going to the hospital to visit his own son who was dying in the hospital, and yet he still stopped for me. Funny how some folks see the need, and the need becomes the call. I know people that have spent a lifetime asking God to speak to them and show them his will. The need is the call, folks. If you see a need and you can fill that today, that's the call of God for you today. When we took that little boy and put him in the truck a couple days ago and got him home, I saw it. I didn't have to go to a seminar. I've gotten more degrees than a thermometer. I didn't need my PhD or my MD to figure out somebody has got to get those kids out of that mess and help them. You see the need, that's what it's about. And so that's what today is. 2 different messages, 2 different mindsets. But who's never read this book? Let me see again. Never read the book. Well, that's disappointing. Where you guys been? Come on, has it been that long since I've been here for you guys? Let's try it again. Who's never read the book? Let me see your hand. All right. Hey, people that sit up front, they get free stuff. There you go, sir. Merry Christmas. There you go. Those of you sitting in the back, in the cheap seats, you get nothing free. You get nothing. Yeah. But there'll be a lot of things down in the chapel. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the books, the shirts, the book bags. This is one of the things. I talked about this on television about 6 months ago, and somebody picked up on it and said, Pastor Bill, you need to put this on one of the bags. It says, follow your heart, but take your brain along for backup. Some of you need this bag. I'm just throwing it out there, just so you know. So there's a lot of stuff like this. The little kids that go to our Sunday school in the ghetto in New York City, these are their little uniforms that they get on the Sunday school bus. And there's a lot of stuff. The bracelets are ladies in the Philippines. Wait for the garbage trucks to come into the dump. They live in the garbage dump. And they take the glossy magazine covers off the magazines, wet them, roll them up, and they turn them into beads, and they sell these on the street in downtown Manila. And that's how they feed their families. So when I saw them do this, I thought, man, I'm going to take these things around all over the world. So when you see this, and folks were already asking about it, there was no set price for these. I asked people to get one, wear it, to pray for the moms, pray for the kids in our Sunday school in the Philippines. And if some of you ever want to go with me, people say, Pastor Bill, can we go? You may not want to go next time with me to Ukraine, because I'm sure there's not going to be a big line of folks that want to go with me there. But I take a bunch of people with me every March. A lot of folks from Singapore, Malaysia, and to go with us and see the kids. They live in the garbage dump, live in the cemetery, the North Cemetery. And let me ask you this, because maybe this is the right time to do this. All of you, you know you live in a bubble here in Singapore. Do you kind of get that? Maybe I need to come down 2 steps. All right, let's go 2. You know you live in a bubble here. You need to thank God every day you live here. Don't make me walk in the back, because I will. You got to thank God every day. I ask people often, I teach Old Testament in several universities, mostly in Europe. And one of the questions I always ask is, Why were you born here? Do you ever really understand that? The weight of that question? I don't know. Why were these kids born? I've got 3 generations of people that live in the North Cemetery. 1,000 people that live in the cemetery. We do Sunday school every Friday with the kids that live in the cemetery. Walk with me. Go with me. Just see, and maybe being grateful to understand you have an opportunity that God has given everybody in this house, and you know that. And that's why I was excited to come on this tour, even though I knew I was kind of beat up and banged up. I've had 6 concussions. This was the last concussion I had there. So if I look like I'm kind of wacky, this is what 6 concussions does to you. So don't hit your head. I'm just trying to give you some good advice, all right? So there'll be some things back there. But the most important thing that you guys will see when you go down to the chapel are these pictures. And I want to just take a minute for you to take a look at this, because I need you to understand the criticalness of these pictures. When that man stopped and picked me up off the street corner in 1960, he got out of his car, he walked across the street to where I'd been sitting. Remember now, he's driving to see his own kid who was dying, but he still stopped. Walked across the street, put his hand on my shoulder, and just asked me if I was okay. That's it. Understand what just happened, what I just told you. He said, "Are you okay?" Because he asked me if I was okay, and I couldn't talk right because I used to stutter when I was little. And I tried to tell him my mother was gone and I'm just hungry. And immediately, he got me a burger and a Coke. See, when he knew I'd been sitting on that street for 3 days, he didn't have to go to a seminar, did he? No, he did not. No. He saw the kid that nobody wanted. He got me a Coke, got me a burger. He made some phone calls, and 5 hours from this meeting on the street corner, he's making phone calls. He sponsors me to go to a Sunday school camp where I heard the story of Jesus for the first time, and my life was changed. I'd never been to church in my life, never heard anything about anything. But I came to that camp, and I came to the front. Nobody would pray for me because I wasn't a church kid. I had holes in my pants, holes in my shoes. I couldn't talk right. But when I heard the story of Jesus, I said, "Lord, my mother doesn't want me." I said, "But if you want me, I will give myself to you." And that put my life on a journey that's brought me here today. I did not know when I was a little boy on the corner, I would have been going to Ukraine, doing what I do in Bangladesh, working in a refugee camp in Somalia, got my throat cut in Yemen, got shot in the back by a Russian sniper in Syria. I did not know any of that when I was a little kid sitting on the corner. But that one ordinary man saw something in me. My own mother didn't see it. So I'm telling you guys this, that when you go downstairs, you will see pictures of the kids that we have committed our lives to in our Sunday schools all over the world. It's a $45 a month commitment. You can be as involved in the life of your sponsored child. If you want to go visit your kid, go with me. And whether it's in the Philippines, in Kenya, in Africa, to go spend time, to get actually, to see what these kids live in, what they do. Because you kind of know, but when you're actually there with them, you understand what I'm saying. So you will understand this, because this is very personal, because I'm kind of like this kid. I was this kid. I was the kid that nobody wanted. And I wanted, because you see stuff on TV, you hear stuff, I know it. I see the same stuff as you guys do. I get it. But I was in Ethiopia several years ago, and I got to an orphanage, one of the ones that we had helped to start years back, and one of the staff members said, Pastor Bill, somebody said there's a little girl that's hanging on a tree. They tied her up. I thought, okay. I said, has anybody gone to look for her? They said, no. I thought, of course. I said, give me the keys to the Jeep. Let's go. And I got two of the staff. We were driving around for about an hour out in the bush. And we found this little girl. Her name was Rosie. And her parents wanted a boy. They kept her for a while, and then one day they just decided they didn't want her anymore. So they took her out to the bush, tied her on a tree, hands and feet. I jumped out of the Jeep, and they had a pair of cutters in the Jeep. I jumped out, cut her hands loose, cut her feet loose, got her in the Jeep, got her back to the orphanage. And Kelly, do you have that first picture? I think we've got a picture of Rosie. Yeah, this is Rosie. I took this picture myself when I got her to the orphanage. And I show this to you guys so you understand. As a medical doctor, and some of you in the medical profession, you understand that when a kid is starving to death like this, the body basically is eating itself. That's what happens. That's what you're looking at. I took this picture. I got back to the States. I was speaking at a pastor school in Los Angeles, and I took that picture and I put it in these folders that you guys will be seeing down in the chapel. And I thought, somehow I need to get somebody to sponsor Rosie, because she's not going to make it. It's pretty simple. And I got done with the service, and a lady ran out. She ran back to the table. She said, Pastor Bill, I want to sponsor Rosie. I said, ma'am, I don't even know. They have no Wi-Fi at the orphanage. I don't even know if she's made it or not. I don't, honestly. I don't know. I don't know how she's doing. She said, doesn't matter. I want to be the one to pray for her. I want to be the one to try to save her life. She was a great sponsor. Sent boxes of protein, over there trying to put some weight on the kid. And I still wasn't being able to get communication to how Rosie was doing, but it was about 6 months later. And I had to get back to Africa. And I thought, okay, I need to go back to the orphanage and see what happened to Rosie. Did she make it or not? And I got to the orphanage, and after 6 months, because of that sponsor, praying for Rosie, sending food, sending protein, just caring. 6 months later, Kelly, give me that next picture. After 6 months. Oh, you better give God a praise. You better give God a praise. For those of you that don't clap for anything else, you better clap for that. Because this is a real life today, folks. Different day today. I want you to see what happens when an ordinary Christian chooses to see beyond the norm. That's missions. That's ordinary folks, like the man that picked me up. So I'll be down there after the service, and our team will be down there, and there'll be a team at the Woodlands. We've got pictures of the kids. After the service, you guys can go down there, and our team will be there answering any questions that you may have. But I want to talk to you quickly, and then I'll see you downstairs. I was speaking at the Southern Baptist Convention in the United States, which is the largest Protestant denomination in the U.S., and they had asked me to come and speak at one of their conventions. And they had asked me, how is it that you have not just been in the ministry for 50 years, but still doing what you do? How is it that your commitment is stronger than your emotions? If you don't get anything else from this service, it was worth you coming to get what I just said. Because if you're going to make it, folks, we've made it through pandemic. I've had COVID 4 times. Yeah. So I get it. I understand. But when you come to that point in your life, when your commitment is stronger than your emotions, because with most Christians, you know, they live by emotion. You guys know how it goes. There's people that didn't come today because yesterday it rained. And they said, we can't make it. Shut up. Okay, come on. And so I was talking to the Baptist folks, and I had just stumbled upon something in the book of Judges. And I'm going to walk you through it quickly, and then I'll be done. Like I said, I'll be speaking a totally different message in the second service. But I want you to look in the book of Judges, chapter number 20. The folks there were fighting a critical, pivotal battle. Now, why is this important? Because the future of the nation is hinging on those folks they're going to be fighting in this battle. I never thought I would get to the point where in my country, they're still trying to figure out what is a man and what is a woman. Now, I don't know what's going on in this country, but I know what's going on in my country. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. The foolishness that we see going on, the things that are taught to children today. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't think I need to say too much more. Somebody needs to speak with a louder voice. Yeah, I know. There's got to be somebody. The church has got to speak with a louder voice. I think we all know that. It's not always easy. They were fighting this battle. Follow me. I'll read a couple of verses. Judges chapter 20. Let's go verse 14 there in the 20th chapter. But the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the cities of Gibeah to go out in battle against the children of Israel. Go to verse 15. And the children of Benjamin were numbered at that time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. 700 chosen men. I'm not going to talk to you in Hebrew today. We don't have a lot of time to walk through this. But this word chosen was a very interesting word. These 700 chosen men, they weren't just picked out of the crowd. They were chosen for a reason, chosen for a purpose. Watch me. Go down to verse 16. And among all these people, these 700 chosen men were all left-handed. Who are these guys? Who are these people that are fighting in the critical, pivotal battle for the nation? 700 of them. They were chosen for a reason. They were left-handed, and every one of them could sling stones at a hair and not miss. It's one of those unlikely stories that not a lot of people spend time on, but because I teach Old Testament and I've had to research, it took me a year to research this, and I felt like it was something that I wanted to share with you today and see if it makes sense. Who are these 700 chosen men? They could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. They were all left-handed. And it's interesting that only 9% of the world's population is left-handed at any one time. And yet you've got 700 of them that were picked to fight in a critical, pivotal battle. And what you need to understand, that in the Hebrew army, particularly in the Old Testament chronology of things, it's not today. When men get wounded in battle, usually today if they get wounded, they're pulled out of the fight, sent back home. But in the Old Testament, if a man was wounded in the battle, he had a choice. He could either stay in the fight or he can go home. So what you've got here is 700 men chosen to fight for the future of the nation. They're all left-handed. I could not figure out who these men were. Now, I know we have people talk about the Benjamites. This is a whole different group of people here. And I had to research. I have two Jewish professors that I work with that teach in the University of Jerusalem. And we were going back and forth trying to figure out who exactly are these men were. And I was reading every commentary. I have a very extensive library back at the office back in New York City, trying to look at every commentary, trying to figure out who are these left-handed men. I couldn't find it. One of the commentaries said, well, they were left-handed because they're not right-handed. I said, I could have wrote that myself. I didn't need to read that somewhere. And I couldn't find enough information. So finally, I was back in Wales where I got the PhD. And they have these little bookstores in that part of the world, mostly books written from preachers from the 1700s, 1800s. And I thought somebody has got to have some kind of insight on these 700 guys. So I found this one volume commentary from an old preacher by the name of Pink. And I was sitting in this old bookstore there in Wales, and I was frustrated because I knew there was a truth here. There was something here that I had to find. I couldn't find it. And I found in this one little book, and this preacher said they were left-handed because they were no longer right-handed. Oh, in that one volume, and he walked through the history and the chronology of it, and I thought, what you've got here, don't miss this. You've got 700 men that were going to fight in a battle that was going to determine the future of the nation. And these 700 men were chosen. Chosen why? Why were they specifically chosen for this? And then when I started doing that research and I saw this from that author, you've got 700 men that used to be right-handed, but in a battle somewhere, in a fight somewhere, in a struggle somewhere, maybe they lost a finger. Maybe they lost a hand. Maybe they lost an arm. Technically, because they were wounded in a battle, they had the option of going home, going to quit, or they could stay in the fight. So what have you got? You've got 700 men that could have quit, could have walked away. And this is what some of the Southern Baptists were trying to find out from me. How is it that you've been able to stay in the battle of ministry when you've seen 23 people murdered in front of you? I don't know how many of you have ever seen anybody murdered in front of you, when you've seen people get the brains blown out. And I'm not trying to be dramatic here, because I know it's easy for me because of the life that I've lived and what I just came from a couple of weeks ago. It's easy for me to talk about this. Not really, but I've lived it. It's part of my existence, my 50 years of ministry. So I get it because I've lived it. I live in the ghetto in New York City. I've been living there for 40 years. So you see all kinds of things, not just stuff like you see in the movies. And now we've got 700 men that got wounded in a battle, could have went home, but they said, no, we're not going to go home. We're going to stay in the fight. And that's why in verse 16, it says that they could hit a stone and what? Could it with a hairbreadth. I'm right-handed. Now, if I tried to pick something up here and throw a bottle or something, I could do it right-handed easy. But if I took it and put it in my left hand and try to throw it, it's what we call throwing like a girl. I don't mean no respect to you ladies, but you know what I'm saying? It's not natural when you try to be ambidextrous. I get it. So these men, well, look at it, because I don't want you to miss this. Look, it says in verse 16, it said they could sling stones at a hair and not miss. So I'm reading this, trying to figure out, maybe this will help you understand the David and Goliath story. You know how those guys used to practice with a slingshot? I learned it from this message when I was researching. They would take horsehair from the mane of the horse or from the tail. They would tie one end around a tree branch, and they would tie the other end to a stone to keep the hair straight so the wind wouldn't blow it. But those guys that were good with a slingshot, they could hit a horsehair with a stone from 30, 35 yards away. I can't even see a horsehair that far. But these men who were left-handed now could hit a hair with a stone and not miss. What's happening here? Who are these guys? I'll tell you exactly who they are. Why do you think they were chosen? My God. They were chosen to be the ones that saves a generation, a nation from destruction. Who are these people? It's people that could have quit. People that were wounded in battle. People that could have walked away. Had every reason to walk away, but they understood the importance of the battle. They understood their point and their purpose and position in the battle. That's why I wanted to talk to you for a few minutes. Now, I wrote a few things down on the plane, so I'm going to give them to you real quick. Just 3 observations. See if it makes sense to you, and then you can chew on it this afternoon and see if this makes sense to you. I think as I tried to get a little more understanding on these 700 men, first thing I noticed was, for all of you, I'm going to come right at you on this one. If you're still right-handed here, if you have not been wounded in a battle in life, see, when you're young, I get it. Young people, they think the worst thing that ever happens to them is if their phone charger doesn't work anymore. I get it. I'm going to slap you silly. But for those of us that have got a few years on us and life happens and you've had battles and struggles and disappointment and disillusionment and discouragement and betrayal, all of the stuff that goes along with living life. It's very easy. That's why the Baptists were saying, how is it that you've been able to stay in the fight this long, living in the ghetto, doing all these things, doing this stuff like we're doing in Ukraine. Right now, while we're here, we got another truck trying to get, do you understand what's going on here today? We're talking about life and death day. That's what today is. It's pretty simple. 700 men, could have quit, could have walked away, had every reason not to. But they said, no, we need to be in the fight. We can't quit. We can't walk away. I understand that. So if you're still right-handed, if you haven't been wounded, guess what? Your time's coming. So, well, that doesn't sound like faith. Well, it's got nothing to do with that. It's just living life long enough to know. I was in Germany, and I was trying to find some toothpaste. At least here, I can kind of get something in English. But you go to these other countries, it drives you crazy. So I'm in Germany, and I'm trying to find some toothpaste. Can't find it. Nobody understood what I was saying. And so the guy that was with me, he said, I think this is toothpaste. I said, you think? I said, I don't want to experiment with this. I don't know what that, and finally, I was so frustrated because I was trying to just find a stupid little tube of toothpaste. And I said, you know what? The only way I'm going to find out what really is in this thing, I'm going to open it up. Yep, up. Oh, see, because this tube of toothpaste is just like life. No, this is just like you. Look at me, right here. This tube of toothpaste is just like life. It's just like you. You don't know what's in you until you get squeezed. Some of you got it. Some of you in the cheap seats didn't get that. So let me hold it up a little higher. And for those of you watching, see, you don't really know what's inside you until life squeezes you. And when life squeezes you, then, my friends, then we're going to see what's really inside you. Look at the person next to you. Just smack them in the arm. Say, you better get ready. Because when life squeezes you, then we're going to see what you're really made of. What's in you? What does the Holy Ghost put inside you? Pretty simple, huh? Maybe not as simple as some of our folks think. I don't know. You tell me. So if you haven't been wounded in life, if you've been stood at the grave of people, see, at 75 years old, now I'm starting to go to a lot of funerals. Yeah, I didn't do it much when I'm 30s, 40s, even 50s. I'm going to a lot of funerals now. How about you? See, this is what separates the liars from the buyers. Because when life has its way of doing what life does, and the enemy will throw at you anything he can to try to get you discouraged. Why do you think so many people quit church? In America, you know, and this is a statistic that I was kind of shocked, but it seems to be accurate. After the pandemic, 1 out of every 3 Christians stopped going to church after pandemic. 1 out of 3, guys. Now, I don't know what it is here in Singapore, but 1 out of 3, because see, everybody got used to staying home, watching the TV services. I get it. It's much easier to sit on your couch watching the service in your underwear on Sunday morning, and some of you watching, you're sitting in your underwear right now watching us. Next week, put on your pants and come to church. You need to come on, Jesus. You need to come back to church. Get in the house. You need the worship. You need the fellowship. You need that. You're not going to get it sitting in your underwear. Put on your stupid pants and get here next week. That's just my sidebar right there. My admonition for all of you. So if you haven't been wounded, disappointed, discouraged, yeah, take a number, man. Take a number. But second observation, see if this makes sense. When you get wounded, and some of you are taking notes, this is probably wise for you, because the second observation in my mind is when you get wounded, not if you're going to get wounded, because you will. Life will beat you up as we will go along. So don't get rattled. Don't get, oh God, please don't, shut up. The enemy will throw stuff at you. You know how it works. I know how it works. I lived it 2 weeks ago when I saw the little boy that got his tongue cut out. When I saw the little girl who stepped on a landmine and it blew both of her legs off under the knee. When I had the other little girl that I saw, and one of the soldiers took a machete and chopped her right ear off. And we tried to stitch her up just to stop the bleeding. Come on, folks. You know life. I know life. Thank God. When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Lord will raise up. You know that. Greater is he that is within us than he that is within the world. And we know that. But when the enemy throws it at you, you will get wounded. You're going to be in a fight. You know you will. But when you get wounded, yeah. You got 2 choices. Look at me. I don't care what anybody else tells you. Here's the truth. When you get wounded, you got 2 choices. Stay in the battle or walk away. Stay or go. Make the call. Stay or go. You don't know what happened to me. Yeah, okay. It was on that Germany trip. Some guy, He said, Pastor Bill, he said, I know you've had a tough life, but he said, I'd like to bet you 100 euros. I think I've had a tougher life than you. I said, okay. I said, I don't think so. And then when he found out what I was doing, he realized that the enemy comes at all of us. At all of us. At any time, it's going to come at you. So when you get a choice, because you only got two, stay or go. Stay or go. But number three and last, if you decide to stay, you decide to stay in the battle. Why don't you just make up today? Wouldn't it be nice for those of you that have been in the fight, you've been struggling? Wouldn't it be nice that once you say, I'm going to stay, I'm not going, I'm not quitting, I'm not walking away? I've had a lot of opportunities, guys. When I had, even with this Ukraine thing that I've been dealing with, and that little boy that got his tongue, and just before I left to go across the border, he got some mud, and with his finger, he tried to draw a heart. He couldn't talk, but he tried to draw a heart, and you ever had a little kid had his tongue cut out, give you a little picture of a heart, and say thank you? Maybe someday, huh? Maybe someday. And so, if you choose to stay, why don't you just make up your mind that you're going to take all the things that the devil will throw at you, everything comes at you, and say, you know what? I'm going to be better since I've been wounded than I ever was before I got wounded at all. These men did what? They could hit a hair with a stone and not miss. They understood the battle. They wanted to stay in the fight. They decided they were not going to quit. And they said, I'm going to be better my God. I'm going to be better left-handed than I ever was right-handed. I believe that somebody's, you're in a fight today. I get it. I know, folks. I'm dealing with what I'm dealing there. I got 3 broken ribs. I shouldn't even be here. When I came back from Washington, D.C., and gave my operation report, and then they took me into the medical bay. 3 broken ribs, punctured lung, concussion, 3 broken fingers. They said, you can't travel. Yeah, I think I can. Because see, that's why I'm here, guys. That's why I'm here. I don't need to be here. But I thought it was important for me, in the middle of the fight that I'm in, for these kids, the middle of the fight that some of you are in. I get it, man. I get it. I'm going to be 75 years old in a couple of months. I get it. And I've had a lot of opportunities to walk away and just say, you know what? I can retire now. I can walk away. What's the retirement age in Singapore? What is it? How much? 65? Shame on you. I'll slap you myself. Man, at 65, you're just getting warmed up. You got more brains in your little finger than most young people have in their whole head. This is your time, folks. This is your time. This is your time. Take all of those things that the devil will throw at you and say, you can't do it. I can do all things. I'll tell you this, I know what time's gone. It's always gone. I get it. I get it. I'll pick it up in the next service. But I want you to watch this video. This was from my second tour of Ukraine. Russians blew up a house. And you'll see the Ukrainian soldier pulled a little boy out of the house. And you'll see him standing guard. The little boy was dying. And the soldier was just standing guard. You'll see him holding his rifle. And I was filming it right on the spot. It was live. And even when the little boy died, and the ambulance pulled away, the soldier was still standing guard. What does that mean? You know what it means. There are some people, no matter what the fight is, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the enemy throws at you. I know whom I have believed, and I'm still persuaded that he's still able to keep that which I've committed unto him against that day. Some of you are in a fight, you're in battle. I get it. I get it. Roll the video quickly, please. Quickly. I take you to Ukraine. We'll see a man. The guard. She was trying to explain that she just put the boy in the back room and a shell had hit the front of the house and the back of the house, and the whole thing fell in on the little one. And the rescue crews came in, they pulled him out of the rubble, laid him on the ground, and the medics are trying to resuscitate him. And there's a soldier standing there, and you can see him. You can see in the shadow. He's holding his rifle, and he's standing over the boy while the medics are trying to save him. And there's a word, Ukrainian, zasnik. It means defender. But there's something about some of these guys, when there's a little boy, little girl that's been shot or killed, they stand there. They stand there. The medics working on the kid, a guard, and they're standing there and watching. And this little guy didn't make it, but still, because they were putting him in the ambulance, and he's done. But the soldier still stayed, and he stayed guard. Stand guard. Oh, listen to that boy. Let me tell you something. I've spent my whole life to try to be a guardian. I've been trying to stand guard to kids all over the world, trying to do the best that I can after all these years to stand guard. I'm trying to stand guard for those. Maybe some make it, some don't. But somebody has to stand guard. Thank you for letting me. Thanks for letting me stand guard. Stand watch. Somebody has to. And I'll keep on doing it for as long as I can. Play the song. Our time's gone. I wanted you guys to see that, because that takes the whole message and puts it in context. You're standing guard. That's what I've been doing for my whole life. Because I understand, and some of you understand. Play the song. When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Lord will raise a standard against it. For those of you in a battle today, maybe you're struggling with health. Maybe you're struggling after COVID. I don't know. But I know right now there's a truck going across the border from one country to another, trying to get some little kids. Father, I pray for my friends today. Pray for my friends that are in the battle, in the fight, in struggles, wondering, am I going to make it? Should I quit? Should I walk away? You got two choices, man. Stay or go. But if you choose to stay, make up your mind. You're going to be better left-handed. You're going to be better because of the fight, because of all the things you've been through. You're going to be better left-handed than you ever were right-handed. Sing the song.
Set me free. Hallelujah.
I like the song. I like the song.
Has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain.
Somebody's got to stand guard.
There's salvation in your